Hey guys, Eric Bischoff here, and just want to call a quick timeout. I want to tell your listeners about what I've been telling everybody over at 83 Weeks for quite a while now, about all the cool things that are happening over at adfreeshows.com.
We're kicking off 2023 with an all-new edition of Title Chase, as Conrad dives into the moments, memories, and matches of the 10 pounds of silver, the NWA U.S. Heavyweight Championship.
Man, I am doing great. Like my friend Steve Kern likes to say, gratitude is the attitude, and that's where I'm at.
I like it. Well, I had a blast talking about the old WCW Heavyweight Championship with you recently, and we thought, hey, let's get down a rabbit hole about something maybe a little more old school. Tell everybody what you're holding there.
I am holding the 10 pounds of silver NWA United States Heavyweight Championship belt.
We get a peek behind the curtain on an all-new edition of The Insiders, as Conrad sits down with former WWE writer and current Impact producer Jimmy Jacobs.
You start to realize that you're one weird interaction with Vince away from being in the doghouse or being fired.
Wow.
And then you just start to behave in a way to try to not get fired. And then your ideas become ideas in an effort to not get fired. And pretty soon you have a whole bunch of people that are playing to not lose.
No spray tans necessary on our latest premium watch-along event, as Eric Bischoff and Nick Patrick sat down for the first time ever to discuss what really happened in one of the biggest and most infamous main events in history, Starrcade 97.
It's been 25 years since it happened, and this is the first time that we've ever talked about. Nobody came to me that night after the match in the locker room, at the TV the next day. You know, it was just we just moved on from it. You know, and I did what I was supposed to do out of the deal. You know, I don't know what was told in the production meeting, what people were expecting, and you know, I was getting pulled from two different sides.
That's just a small taste of what we've got waiting for you, with 4 levels to choose from. See for yourself why ad-free shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adfreeshows.com.
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
We are broadcasting from the Blue Chew Studios. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ARN at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. Hello and welcome to ARN. This is Paul Bromwell. It's 2023. And once again today, I'm joined by the Hall of Famer, the founder of the Four Horsemen, the creator of the Spine Buster, and most recently, a comic book author. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the enforcer. He's Double A's, my friend. He's Arn Anderson. Arn, how are you this new year?
I'm your buddy. Who's your buddy? I'm your buddy.
Oh, man, it's good to see you.
Hey, I hope your family had a wonderful holiday. It was just family stuff, which we always do for us. What about you? Did you have a big wing ding or anything?
We had some family over Christmas Eve. Christmas was a little bit mellow, and then New Year's, it was a little bit chill. My son's girlfriend and his mother came over, and otherwise it was, it was nice. So it wasn't anything too crazy. We watched a lot of college football. How about that game? We were just talking about the Georgia game. Were you on pins and needles or what?
Oh, well, I love football. You know that. The game before that was a nail biter too.
TCU, yeah. Michigan.
I was hoping for what would be your best national championship? Exciting would be TCU and Georgia, I would think. Michigan's that type of team, they get pissed and they hunker down on you on defense, and there's no scoring.
Yeah.
So it was, I was a little disappointed in their performance. I'll take the win. A win is a win. I just think when they're hitting on all cylinders, man, Georgia Bulldogs are badass. And they lost their big tight end, number 0, and early on.
Yeah.
And, like I always say, the success of the Bulldogs goes with their tailbacks. If they're romping and stomping, they're going to have a good day.
Dude, it was so crazy. I was watching the end of that game, and it was lining up right with the ball dropping, that field goal, the guy hanging that field goal left. It hook left, and the ball drops. It's 2023. Georgia's going to the championship game. It was crazy how the timing of that all worked out.
Well, yeah, they went to our quarterback, and I'm terrible on names. I know his name, but
yeah, Bennett,
yeah. They cut to him on the sideline when things weren't going well, and man, you felt for the guy because you could see it in his face. He was trying to take it all the heat on himself when you can't do that, and you could just see it in his face. The guy's a competitor, and that last kick, I went, well, if they didn't deserve to win, the other team played better. Their quarterback ran all over our defense. Would you concur?
Oh, he's something else, man. He's going to be a good pro too, Stroud. Shoo.
And the last thing that blew in my ear is, if this was reversed and this was the Georgia kicker, can you imagine the pressure on this guy?
Yeah.
So he knuckleballed it. It was maybe one of the uglier kicks I've seen.
So that's how we headed into the new year. We're in 2023. You and I are back together again. There's a lot going on, man, since the last time you and I got together, because we put a few episodes together so that we could enjoy the holidays with the family. And there's two things that I want to bring up before we jump into March 1991, Arn. First is that Kickstarter campaign was a huge success, man. It's fully funded. You hit every stretch goal. That means we have the best product possible. It releases May 2023. I want to thank all the fans that contributed to the project on behalf of Arn. You guys just were awesome. Be on the lookout for your emails from Dirk Manning. But Arn, fully funded, and you didn't even need all 30 days, buddy.
Did you hear a dollar figure or anything?
Not the total dollar. It's out there. I don't have it on me. But I mean, just the mere fact that you got it fully funded. I mean, that's a big time accomplishment. And I don't know if you've been able to digest that over the past few weeks or what. But this is a huge success for you, man.
Well, that's why I was asking, because just like the first time I did one of these podcasts, I walked in blind. I really did. And this is the same thing. I mean, I don't know what's good and what's not. I'll take you guys that are a lot smarter than me. I'll take your word for it. Thank you to the fans, man. That's fabulous.
I think that's the key. I think it's the outpouring of support from your fan base, the folks that listen to this show, the hardcore Arn Anderson fans that really stepped up and said, we're here, we want to support you, and we want more Arn Anderson, and we can't wait to support you in this way. So on behalf of Arn, on behalf of the show, man, thank all of you. And I guarantee you're going to get a first-class, top-notch comic book in whatever package that you ordered. And it's coming in, man. I know a lot of the listeners right now are excited to see that.
Well, to some of our weaker stomachs and easily frightened, you might want to have a little bottle of whiskey sitting beside you when you read through some of this stuff, because it's pretty edgy, and it's some of the true stuff is you just go, Jesus, so it's going to be I think it's going to be an exciting, good, fun read. There's some fun stuff in there, but it's once again, if it's going to be a success, just like a live event or selling a T-shirt or our podcast or you name it, it's the fans that make it fly. So God bless everybody. Thank y'all for your support. I sure do appreciate it.
Buddy, I got my copy ordered, and I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to read it, and looking forward to it. So, again, thank you, all of you that participated. The other thing I want to put out there, and you and I were, as we recorded, we didn't know when it was going to hit, but, man, it hit while we were on the break, and that was the 4 Horsemen jackets and the hats. They were added to the store. I see that big smile on your face. High-quality jackets on and embroidered onto these satin jackets. You're showing the hat right now on video for those that are watching on YouTube. But, man, I'm talking about so many different colors. 12 colors to choose from on the jackets. Black, red, 2 blues, green, several other colors. 2 different Horseman hats that are embroidered. You're showing us one of them, but they've all hit the store. You can check it out, arnlinks.com or boxofgimmicks.com. Arn, the orders are flocking in already, man. I know you got a demo jacket, and you're thrilled with how they turned out.
Yeah, it's a high quality, and hey, this is that's quality stuff, guys. It looks good. The white ones are for everybody likes a white hat, off the hook. There's blue hats. There's a bunch of different colors. You know, I've been after this. I always like to give credit where credit's due. I've been trying to get this done, folks, for a couple years, and I didn't have the right people handling it. I'll just go ahead and say it. My friend right there, Paul, take the credit because credit is due. He found the company that would make this stuff something you could throw on your back, walk out the door, and be proud to be wearing. You know, you have a lot of people that wear Raiders jackets and Yankees gear and Atlanta Braves gear and all that stuff, man. But the thing about it is, it's not only supporting me and supporting the Four Horsemen, it's supporting a quality product because it looks good. It's a damn good looking t-shirt, man. It's a good looking hat. That jacket's awesome. So thank you, Paul. I appreciate you doing the legwork.
Buddy, we got, I got to give a shout out to Mark Rice, who's an avid listener of this show, Big Papa Corn. We've advertised his popcorn here before, but he was the guy when we put it out on the show. So many reached out, and he was one of them that said, hey, Nashville, I got a guy. He does my work. And, he hooked me up with Jeremy, and my goodness, we were off and running, and we got it all moving forward. They are now on the store, and I saw all the orders coming through, and I'm pumped. Again, I can't wait for mine. And so you guys got to get them. They're hot, and I tell you what, the quality, we sent it the first one to Arn, and Arn called me and said, pal, these are next level as far as quality and the embroidery work. The embroidered patch on the front, the Horseman logo, full embroidery on the back of the Horseman logo, and the jackets are nice and warm. You were saying these are probably nicer than the originals.
Oh, they're lined incredible. I mean, you can use it either as a lightweight, hey, I'm just going to go to a game, and, if I get warm, I can take it off. But if you need to be warm, it's a warm jacket. I've worn it out, during this freezing weather we've had, man. It'll keep you warm. It's good stuff.
True to size, too. That's the key, which you liked. You wanted that sizing.
A couple of people that we need to hit, and I always get running ahead. On the comic book, Dirk Manning and your crew, thank you.
Yeah.
You guys have did all the work. As far as, the behind-the-scenes stuff, these guys are the artists, the organizers. They're the knowledge of all this. So let me thank you and Marcus D'Angelo.
Our man, our social media guy, he's doing it all.
Brother, you are working your ass off, and it's making our product a lot better, and we are very blessed to have you. So thanks to everybody on the crew.
There you go. Well, listen, I know I just did our best Billy Mays imitation. The Great Muta had what has been advertised as his last match in Japan this past week, Arn. I got to bring it up. He came up short in his final bout against Shinsuke Nakamura in what the research guy called one hell of a creative finish. Nakamura sucked the mist out of the Muta's mouth and then sprayed him with it, allowing him to hit the knee strike finish. So, Arn, before we jump into this week's episode, I thought it would be appropriate for you to share your thoughts on the career of the legendary trailblazer, the Great Muta, man. He wrapped it up.
Muta, first time you saw him, because number one, he was young, head full of black hair, tanned. You don't see a lot of the Japanese boys that take the time to tan. He had a good athletic physique, wasn't a body guy, but he was smooth as silk and a handsome guy. What a baby face he would have made if his first coming on the shores of America, he would have been the right baby face with the right company and pushed the right way. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's hard to dislike a guy like that. I mean, you had to put Bud Sawyer with him and Gary Hart and Dragon Master to even make him a heel. If he would have been alone, he would have been a babyface. And he's a tremendous talent, nice guy to be around, funny, a professional, and he had a hell of a career. And just hearing for the first time the finish, that is damn creative.
He had a hell of a look, just the way his whole presentation and the way he moved his body movements, the moonsaults, the springboard into the turnbuckle, everything. It was different. It was unique. And you're right, man. He had a unique charisma all his own and captured our attentions. And what a performer. His matches with Sting and partnered with Gary Hart. That's what we love. That's why we're here. And to see him, be able to fight Nakamura, and I, thankful the WWE allowed Nakamura to participate in that. So cool. What a way to end a career.
Yeah, and Nakamura is a professional, big time. He knows what's needed for a particular match. I'm sure he was gung-ho and just on board with everything. So congratulations to Muta. You've had a hell of a career. Have a great retirement. And you've earned it. Glad I was here to see it.
There you go. I couldn't have said it any better, Arn. And how cool for Nakamura to be. That'll be one of his career highlights, I'm sure. And how appropriate is it that we talked about Muta, Arn? Because we're going to discuss the first New Japan Pro Wrestling and WCW SuperShow today. But before we go to the land of the rising sun, we need to follow up with the fallout from WrestleWar 1991. A lot of the fans remembered that spot with Sid and Pillman. They were commenting about it on social media, how dangerous it was. Even Brian Pillman Jr. Did a retweet and just saying, man, that's something that haunted him every time he sees it. Your injury kept you out on the sidelines for this one. And the one and only Larry Zbyszko substituted for you in a match that you helped make famous, the War Games match. And after the powerbomb by Sid, that brings us up to this week. So that gets us caught up because last week we did Ask Arn Anything. But that's where we're at in your career here as we enter into March 1991. But I wanted to say that as I kick this off, you had been sidelined by a groin injury. And that didn't keep you from making your presence felt when Sting and Gigante, your favorite giant of all time, I say that tongue-in-cheek, took on your fellow Horsemen, Ric Flair and Barry Windham. We're going to kick things off with March, and we're going to look at the first clip of the week. It's from NWA Pro. It's March 2nd, 1991. Are you ready for this, Arn? A little Sting and Gigante action, buddy.
Oh, you had to say Gigante, didn't you?
I did. Let's get it started, man. Here we go.
Maybe it's better than I remember. Let's jump on it.
All right, here we go.
Back we go to Barry Windham. Good teamwork on the Horsemen's part. 2 count. DDT. Windham not trying to cover the man and maybe could have had him right there with the DDT.
Yeah, I'm sure this is even obvious to Spudheads. They've got to keep Sting up. That takes care of a good plan there.
And now the big guy back in. Barry Windham, who is every bit of 6'6", doesn't look too big right now. Gigante in. Windham goes over to Sting. You see the tape on the head of Barry Windham. He has been in some fights. It was just last week he felt the claw of Gigante right here on Channel 9, and here we go. The claw! He's got it on Barry Windham.
The last time they put the claw on Barry Windham, he squeezed blood right out of the man's forehead.
Ric Flair on his back, trying to get Gigante off. He's riding Gigante. Here comes Sid Vicious.
Oh my God, Sid Vicious doesn't even look that big in there against this man.
But now Arn Anderson, the Horseman, working over Gigante. They got him face first. Laying him out. Sting cannot get up to help him. And they're going to hold him out. What in the world are they going to do?
Well, then they better start doing it quick because Sting over here, now he's getting rejuvenated.
They got him taken care of.
Well, Mr. Vicious.
Vicious taking care of Sting, and oh no.
I tell you what they're doing right now. They're telling these guys right here that the 4 Horsemen are not somebody to mess around with. Now!
In the back of the head, the face, the nose, right down to the mat, and again!
I'm sure that they're thinking is let's eliminate this Gigante off the bat. Let's get rid of him once and for all for professional wrestling altogether.
The Horsemen have struck here on World Championship Wrestling. And then struck on El Gigante. Fans will be back with more right after this timeout. Oh, look at that scene.
As Arn shakes his head, Arn, do you think Flair and Wyndham were ever happier to hear a bell ring in their life than they are at that match?
Oh, I'm sure they were hearing bells ringing the entire match. I hate to speak ill of the dead. I really do. It's, and I'm sure there was something that God put that big fella on the earth to do. Wrestling wasn't it. He just was not, this is not easy anyway to do at all. It's certainly not easy to do well, and it's certainly not easy to excel if you're not meant to be in it. And he was not meant to be in this business. He was just like a deer in the headlights. You can just go back and look at him. He was just frozen. And I'm just saying, I'm sure that what everyone was counting on was, like they said, when Sid was standing beside him, you saw the size of the guy. It's the one time you went, well, damn, Vicious is a monster. Yes. He is a big dude. I just wish that was enough. Our fans deserve more than that.
That was one of the points I was going to make. Sid's 6'9", and he even fails in comparison to how big this guy is. You have, Flair dangling off the back of him, looks like a toddler, hanging off the back of his dad. And then you got him palming Barry's head like a basketball. The enormity of the man, but there was nothing else to it. The match was thrown out due to interference, by the way, for those that weren't watching. And Sting, right? Sting's in this position where it's his job. He's tasked with getting El Gigante over, if by nothing else than the mere association of Sting being with him and, being the number one babyface on the card. So here we go. Throughout the beginning of the month, and thanks in large part to your injury, the Horsemen wrestled El Gigante and Sting in a bunch of tag matches. And unfortunately for Rick, those few times El Gigante was not in a tag with Sting, he was taking on, Flair in the main event. El Gigante losing by DQ when the Giant would not let go of the claw. And that's what you're kind of dealing with here now during this time. So, just wish we could have gotten more out of him. But like you said, he just wasn't cut out for the business.
Yeah, he would have probably needed more time at the school, and just so you could at least put a few things together for him. And here's something we never even addressed. Forget about the fact that his offense was very weak because he just didn't know. He couldn't fall down. I mean,
how do you take a bump taking a bump.
Yeah, so he can't fall down. His offense looks like shit. What does that leave us?
Where do you go?
I guess just power walk up on him and stick my nose in his belly button. Something. Get some ha-ha out of it or something. I wished I'd have been smart enough to think and consider some stuff, but man. Anyway.
You could see yourself with that noticeable limp when you came in the ring. You see yourself there with that groin issue? Man, you were struggling.
Yeah, and in those days, you didn't miss work. If you could get there, you would get there, and we would just figure out a way for you not to do anything. But at least your presence was there, and the people that paid to see you there got what they paid for. And if in those days, for a guy that would be working on the floor that was normally in a match, he was hurt.
I have one more question, and we'll move on from Big George. Do you know what his training looked like, or lack thereof, I guess? You mentioned, power plant, this and that. Do you remember at all what they did with him, or I guess what they didn't do with him?
They probably taught him how to do a clothesline, obviously the claw and the big hammer across the back, which you always tell what the guy's got in his tool belt when he starts repeating himself.
Yeah.
If he does something more than once, pretty good chance that's about all he's got. But I wasn't there. Well, and you go back to the school. So I picture that in my head. Buddy Lee Parker's good trainer, great trainer. But if you can't bump a guy down, and this guy can't drop something on you, what if he could just drop a big elbow on you? But you couldn't trust him to do that. He would have probably hurt himself. He'd have probably knocked his hip out and killed the guy that he landed on. So it's hard to train a guy that's that big and that heavy because, you know, the one thing is he was still had bigger than normal, larger than human life strength.
Yeah.
Because he clotheslined me one night. I know he's able. Have we talked about that story?
Now, you can share it again. This is a good point. We're talking about him. He's very prominent right now at this time.
Well, when he got mad, he could certainly clean your clock because we were in Philadelphia. It was a 6-man or something, and Flair came in. He was in the ring with the big man and did a little whatever he could do. And George, he finally got behind George and he chopped him right between the shoulder blades. Pretty good one. It sounded off. It cracked. But then Flair, in his infinite wisdom, came over and tagged me. Now, not knowing that George was steaming, I step in and I'm going to walk up to him, and I was going to give him a couple big shots in the chest with a forearm. Brother, he's just accelerated, and he clotheslined me. I swear I thought he broke my neck again. I mean, he knocked my head off. And I don't even remember what happened the rest of the match, but I remember we got back to the locker room, and I went over to the babyface locker room, and brother, I looked at him and said, what the heck? What is wrong with you? You're going to kill somebody out there. Ric Flair make me mad. Well, clothesline him. Don't clothesline me, moron. I'm not the one that did it. And, bro, I mean, he took my head off. So he would be capable of it if he could just dial it down and aim it properly. I don't mind getting hit hard. Just it's where.
Yeah. Well, buddy, here's the thing too, and we, you know, sometimes we don't talk about this when we talk about him. Turner invested a ton of money in this guy. He wanted to use him on the Hawks basketball team. That didn't work out. So here they are trying to see if they can get some kind of ROI out of him in the wrestling business. And I mean, you know, maybe it was, hey, Ted, this ain't gonna work. Let's look at guys like Pillman, Shane Douglas, Ricky Steamboat, other baby faces on the roster as far as pushing and putting with Sting.
Right. Well, I mean, it was Ted's money. He was experimenting. Thank God for him opening up a wrestling company, or we would have been in a single situation, you know, much sooner than we ended up being. Probably, you know, 20 years sooner. So thank God that he did, you know, and the fact of the matter was it was a great company to work for. We just needed some more people that were seasoned at making something out of nothing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And working some magic with what a guy has to offer. If he looked great, or he could talk great, or he could work great, and that's all he could do is one of those, you would have to, you know, cover him on the rest. There was just no way to cover Big George.
Well, Arn, speaking of hard situations, no matter how hard he tried,
it's that time, isn't it?
Sting could simply not get Gigante over. Every angle, every match, every interaction had a flat finish. It lacked sizzle and box office appeal. And men, if I just described your bedroom life, non-box office, no sizzle, and nothing but flat finishes, I want you to swallow your pride and turn to your oldest sponsor, our friends at Blue Chew. It's 2023, and the new year, new me mantra includes how you conduct yourself in the bedroom, getting back to your primal days and putting on those 5-star matches. Isn't that right, Arn?
This is your favorite time of the week, isn't it, buddy?
It is.
We need to get you as like really advertising a little bit more. Maybe just have you in a lime green thong on the beach with the gimmick at attention.
We're trying to sell this stuff, not have people run away from it, Arn.
So what you're telling me is not true?
I'm talking me in a thong ain't going to sell nothing, pal, all right?
You laying in a pup tent?
Nobody wants to see me go 6 to midnight, okay, in a thong.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe the Z-Man back in the day, but not me. But listen, Blue Chew can make you go 6 to midnight if you take advantage of their service. And I'm telling you, it's a new year. It's time for a new you. And that means in the bedroom. And you can do it all online. Arn and I have talked about it countless times. That pup tent, that's what you're working towards. You want it to last all day and all night long. You don't have to go to the doctor's office for it. Nope. You don't have to have that weird conversation. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. It ships right to your door in a discreet package. So sign up now. BlueChew.com. You talk to one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Again, all done online. And if you don't like swallowing pills, no problem. Blue Chew's tablets are chewable. And there's a lot of reasons why guys can't perform. They're either in their own heads, maybe they have some physical issues, some issues that they're dealing with health-wise, and the blood just don't flow to the nether regions like it used to when they needed to. This is where Blue Chew can help. It will pump that blood to your unit like it hasn't been pumped before. Make sure that you're ready when that time comes. So go to BlueChew.com. Make sure you're able to perform at your very best every time you get the opportunity. Make sure you walk out with that gold, that you're the champion. And we have a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ARN at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ARN to receive your first month free. Go to BlueChew.com for more details and safety info.
You know, those tablets are so greedy with drawing the blood to the gimmick. Don't cut yourself shaving. If that thing kicks in, you'll bleed to death. I'm telling you.
There you go. And that device is free from the Enforcer. Check it out, BlueChew.com. Most importantly, Arn's the promo code. Arn, we're going to make a hard right and move away from the Giant. And I'd like to talk to you about your very first trip to Japan. We talked about it at the Open. WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling are partnering together, putting on a pay-per-view in the Tokyo Dome, and they're calling it the New Japan Starrcade 1991. It's a super show. The event marked your return to in-ring action from the torn groin, so this is exciting. We're going to get to see you doing your thing. And depending on where you look it up at, whatever source you read, anywhere between 55,000 and 64,500 fans were in attendance for this, pal. They had a tag match, featured you and Barry Windham wrestling Mr. Saito and Masahiro Chono, two men that have cemented their legacies in New Japan. And in our second clip of the week, we're going to take a look at how this one ended. And then I want to talk to you about your memories of that trip. So here we go. It's the Super Show from March 21st, 1991.
Futile effort because Anderson's the legal man in the ring. Chono grabs him, hooks him for an abdominal stretch that time, and now Barry Windham on the top, and a double axe handle. And the fans really booing Barry Windham. He's really asserted himself in the last 4 or 5 minutes of this contest. Hey, you got to give Windham some credit. All the fans do with that step over toe hold that Arn Anderson could have gone down to defeat, but Windham saved the day. Double team now. And they are keeping Chono in there. Classic tag team strategy by Anderson and Windham. Wrestling the match in their half of the ring. Tagging in and out frequently. We have a 2 count. Very close again. They're clearly the aggressor here. And as long as they keep Chono in there and keep Mr. Saito on the ring apron, they're going to be in pretty good shape. All right, double team once again. Now it's Arn Anderson in. Well, Barry went out. Arn Anderson close to the ropes, and he puts on his abdominal stretch as the referee checks with Chono. Their offensive positioning is very important. They're near their corner, not only to make the tag, but also to help each other. As you're going to see, don't be surprised. They'll take advantage if they can. Now that time, the referee was very quick to circle around. Now he's calling for the break. Good officiating here. Officiating was a big, much debated subject yesterday at the press conference. Chono held to the ropes and really thwarted the timing of Arn Anderson. And here comes Mr. Saito. But Arn Anderson meets him square up, Jim. He kicked him the first time right in the solar plexus, and there went the air for Mr. Saito. And that really let the steam out of this giant crowd, too, because they thought Saito was going to come in and clean house. But Saito apparently trying to shake off this offensive thrust by Arn Anderson. Saito up to his knees. Look at him. You talk You said earlier, Jim, he was the American version or the Japanese version of Rick Steiner, and he's showing it right here. He's as tough as nails.
Arn Anderson's a suplex away from being in big trouble.
Big chop off of the ropes. Mr. Saito on the back, and he is really laying in Arn Anderson now. Here's his move.
There's a Saito suplex. Mr. Saito, Barry Windham comes in, and Saito, he snatches him up.
Got him down with a Saito suplex, but Arn Anderson is the legal man right now. And Arn's back on his feet. Windham is still in.
Referee's going to put Chono out. Let's keep an eye on Barry Windham here.
Windham clotheslines him off of the rope.
There was the lariat. Windham said, "Well, this takes one lariat, and we got him," and they've won it.
So Arn Anderson and Barry Windham get the win.
All right, so this is going to be fun. I want to talk about this a little bit. This is your first trip overseas where you wrestled in a huge venue, which is a much different crowd than you're accustomed to at this point. The Tokyo Dome has become a legendary venue, Arn, and a lot of fans put it on their bucket list as far as would love to go to. What was your initial impression of that building?
Well, it's huge. They said 65,000 that night. I wasn't going to argue with them. It was all the way to the ceiling in a huge building. Huge building. We had the opportunity to work with two of their better talents. Now, I didn't know what to expect. I just, the only advice the American boys give you when you go over there is take care of yourself. Make sure you don't cuss, though. If you let them, these guys will test you and they'll eat you alive. Because we got to remember over there, we're the bad guys. We're the gaijins. We're coming over to step on their company and their talent, and you got to fight them sometimes. That's mostly with the young boys, and that's they're trying to make a name for themselves with their office, with their fans, and these guys. Chono is one of the best workers that's ever been that came out of Japan. If you look at his career, he's on a par with Muda. He's right there. And he had that real good, I don't know if you saw the movie Black Rain, how evil those guys looked. It was a cop movie over in Japan.
Okay.
Might want to check it out.
Yeah.
But he had that look, just that evil mafioso look, which really translated. And you look at his partner, Masahito, he looked like a blowed up cartoon character.
Yeah, they kept referring to him as like a Rick Steiner.
Yes, yeah. And that's the way he worked. Now, let me point out, I know it looked a little funky to our fans, because that's the way they're accustomed to a match going. When that hot tag came down, he should have came in and cleaned house. But you can get away with it over there. If he steps through and you pound him down, they just want to see the comeback even more. So that psychology works. Over here, it would have killed the match. Most any place in the world, it would have killed the match, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it had to look a little funky to you and to the naked eye. But it worked. As you saw, they got with him.
We have a few questions from some of our listeners, too, I want to get to in a moment. But you've previously talked to us about things like access of hotel, ease of getting around, traffic, conditions of the venue. In that same light, what can you tell us about being in Tokyo and the Tokyo Dome and some of those types of things, logistics-wise, that you remember?
Well, I just remember with the traffic being what it was, I think maybe the airport from the Kyo Plaza where they put us up, which was not far from the Tokyo Dome, but it's down. It's maybe, 18 miles maybe, and it took us like 3 hours to get there from the time we landed. It was bumper to bumper. And that's one thing that you remember and you never forget, because once you came off a flight like that, Paul, I don't know if you've ever
Nothing
taken
that long. No.
Just the one leg is 13 hours. So with connections and getting there more than 2 hours early and the layovers and all that, you're talking 24-hour day. When you land, you are ready to get to the hotel. You want to stretch out. Everything's hurting. You're swollen from the flying so high, 50,000 feet. There's nothing good that comes from a flight like that. And to know you got a long trip in traffic, you know, and you're starving too, because the food on the, you know, airplane is not substantial.
Right.
I know that we took cabs to the Gold's Gym over there, which was, you know, they're zipping in and out, and there's not much room. I don't know if you've driven in Boston. This one place comes to mind. They let you park on the street on both sides. Doesn't leave them much room for two other cars to be passing, you know, and weaving your way through there. And that's the way it was in Japan. It was. I was scared to death we were going to get sideswiped. But we never did, and it's a normal thing, I guess, to them.
Yeah. No, it's got. You think about it, just the travel. Then you get there, and you're like you said, another 3 hours in the car. The food, you're hungry. You got to have some jet lag, and you're doing a physical job. You're wrestling. You're going to go out and perform. You need energy, and you need to know what you're doing. And there's a lot of language barriers that you're probably, you know, you got to think of, and just overall communicating has got to be a little bit exhausting. And then the food, like you said, what do you like? What do you not like? Just so much involved. But there's guys that go over there and love it and want to work, you know, and stay in New Japan and work and get used to the lifestyle.
Well, they love the money.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys are guys that either truthfully should have been making more, felt like they should be making more, couldn't get a position with in the states that they had over there, you know. And those guys, hey, it was $100 bills. Whatever your weekly was when you got paid at the end of your tour, crisp $100 bills. So, and you know, and a lot of guys, I mean, you go to the gym, you go to the arena, you work, you drink some of those good Japanese beers, Asahi Dry, you give them a plug, and you know, you get to know the guys over there, because when you get back to the hotel a lot of nights, it's early, everything's closed. We'd just go down and sit in the lobby, and we would have sent out and got a couple cases of beer before it closed and had it brought back to the hotel, and we'd play cards till 3 in the morning, and you get to know guys. You get close to guys over there, because it's just a few scattered Americans and the rest is Japanese in Japan. So
there you go. Well, Arn, our first fan question comes from friend of the show, a wrestling historian on Instagram, and he wants to know, what was it like wrestling in the Tokyo Dome? And we've talked about that a little bit so far, but Arn, do you remember kind of first walking out? And, you know, it's a little bit of a different experience, as we've talked about here. He said, thanks in advance.
Yeah, the reaction of the audience is the biggest thing. They're all dressed to the nines. It's a sporting event. It would be like going to back in the day, going to a Muhammad Ali boxing match. And they sit there and they watch, and whatever it is they like, they react, and then they settle right back down. It's such a weird feeling. And you'll see something that you thought was going to get a big reaction, punch in the mouth, no. But I remember, you know, doing a deal where I was working with Rick Steiner over there one night, and he just ran over me and did something else and shot me in a buckle and came sailing in, and I just stepped out and kicked his head off. And it wasn't the kick that got over. Then I did the oh, 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 oh.
Yeah.
And then the crowd popped.
Okay.
So they were wanting the entertainment point to be what they were reacting to. So you just never know what you're going to get audience-wise over there, but it's different. Let me just put it to you that way.
That's exactly where Brad Stanton headed, because he said the Japanese crowd is much different than the American. Often they politely clap and quietly watch the match. And how did you react to that, and what challenges did that present for wrestling in front of this type of audience? But you just kind of outlined some of it. Does it affect you, though, as far as your style or moves or what you're going to try? Or, I mean, does it genuinely affect your performance in the ring, just not knowing how the crowd's going to react, because you feed off that energy in the U.S.?
Well, you feel like you're really busting your ass. You came a long way to do it. this worked every place you went in the States, whatever this move / whatever it is you're doing, and then you don't get a reaction at all, it confuses you for a minute. You go, wow, okay, that didn't work, let's try something else. And you can almost get to a panic stage to where, wow, maybe they just don't like me.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't give a shit. And that's
normal to feel that way when with that, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if it's your top shelf stuff that you've been using all over the States and people have been eating it up.
Yeah. We by the way, I just want to throw this in here, Arn. You're dealing with the bad back, aren't you? Sciatic nerve. Just in case people are hearing some of the sounds, I know you're moving around a lot over there, but your back, it's just sciatic nerve was acting up. You were telling me before we started recording.
Yeah, it's been that way since before Christmas. I got an ice pack strapped to my back right now. I apologize.
No. You're a gamer, pal, and I wanted to say that because I want to say I thank you for toughing through this. So, yeah, Arn's dealing with some back issues, so I appreciate you hanging in there for us.
Oh, well, it's been a few years. You know, it's funny when, it turned into this issue with my sciatica and all that stuff. And anybody that's had it, lower back, will tell you it just debilitates you. You're locked, bent over, you can't straighten up, and when you do, it's like a stabbing. Just a sharp stabbing pain to try to even, walk to the kitchen. And then the kitchen chairs are so hard you can't sit there and eat. So where am I going to sit and eat and all that stuff? It just screws everything up. So I apologize, and that's what's going on. I keep adjusting this.
Yeah, all good. I just thought we like to be transparent here and tell them what's up. That way they know. Yeah. So we had a few more questions. John M. has, taken some time to get used to the reactions that throw off your game. You talked about that a little bit. But, Arn, this one was a huge crowd. You and Barry came out on top against these two, like you said, New Japan Wrestling stalwarts. Do you remember how and why a clean finish with you and Barry going over, baby faces was decided? Do you remember any of the booking decisions that was made on the card specifically here with them deciding, hey, we're going to have the Horsemen, you and Barry go over on these guys? This is Chono and Saito, as we said.
It was just to get us established our first day in so that if down the road, if that same tour, the next tour, whatever, it would strengthen you for whoever you put over, because whoever you were going to put over the next time, you would put them over clean. They didn't do screw finishes.
Okay.
They just, everybody won, and even if it was a heel with a submission on the babyface, that was the first time that I ever saw a babyface crawl to the ropes like he's in an STF or something from Chono, who was a heel when he wrestled the other Japs, and him get to the ropes to save himself, and they would pop.
Yeah.
That's usually reserved for the heels to do, you know what I mean? For
Yes,
a babyface to save his. I had never seen that. So it was just a different, what they had built the audience to expect and what they could get away with, and they knew.
I want to pause this episode of Arn to make you aware of something that Arn and I are really big fans of, and that's Jimmy's Famous Seafood. If you've not eaten there, then you don't know what you're missing. Check it out, jimmysfamousseafood.com. They ship food nationwide, and right now we have an offer for you. Free 2-day nationwide shipping on orders over $125. Now, that excludes steamed crabs and some fresh items, but $125. They have items like crab cakes, soups, chowders, oysters, signature steaks. I'm telling you, their crab cake egg rolls are to die for. I get it every time I go. When you use promo code ARN, just those 3 letters at checkout, you're going to be able to take advantage of that free 2-day nationwide shipping. They have several packages that make great holiday gifts, such as the famous gift box. That includes 4 of the world's best colossal Maryland crab cakes, 2 different crab soups, crab dip, seafood seasoning, and their signature base sauce. Or there's the tailgate bundle. 2 pounds of wings, a full rack of ribs, a pint of crab dip, and crab cake mix. Or you can create your own package, and boy, do they have options. They've been in business over 40 years. They've been featured in Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and Bobby Flay, and so much more. So check it out, jimmysfamousseafood.com. Use promo code ARN, and you'll get that free 2-day nationwide shipping. Again, it's going to arrive so quick, fresh, ice cold, and you're going to be the hit of your next gathering. Take advantage of this offer right now, jimmysfamousseafood.com, promo code ARN.
Scott Golden, one more question, and we'll keep moving on with the month. Did you like working in Japan, and how were the Horsemen received before that audience?
I mean, from the fans, like to and from the hotel, at the arena, if you went somewhere and ate, you know, and just everybody knew who you were. You were on TBS, you were a big star, and you got a lot of really nice treatment. There was a steakhouse there where the guy, Ribera, if you remember.
Yes, that's a fan. We have another question, a listener question about that.
They would give you a jacket,
yep.
take some pictures, have a big nice meal, and it was a good night out. You would very seldom have any off days or anything of that nature, but occasionally you would have one day off there in Tokyo, so we would make sure you would go to Ribera, and it was like, could always tell a guy that worked, you know, Japan, because he'd have on a Ribera jacket.
Nice. Well, Arn, we'll move on because we do have a couple more questions to round out the show. One of them is about Ribera. So, in the main event of the evening, we had Flair taking on Tatsumi Fujinami, and the pinfall was counted by New Japan Pro Wrestling official Tiger Hattori. Controversy ensued, which we'll discuss in a moment, Arn. But right now, it's our third clip of the week. We have 4 total. Let's take a look at the finish to this one and the subsequent interview afterwards. Here we go, clip 3.
And the dirtiest player in the game now, going back out in his domain, again with those chops, but the Dragon continues to fight him, Tony. The referee doesn't want this thing to end this way.
Neither do the fans. They were chanting Dragon's name, and now they're back in. He nails Bill Alfonso with a forearm inadvertently.
Alfonso and Flair ran together. Alfonso's out here on the floor. Our secondary monitor has Alfonso lying on the floor outside the ring.
But the battle continues in the ring. Reversal to a backslide. Nobody to count. But the fans are counting for him. Look at Fujinami. He's looking for the referee. He said, I got him. Hooks him again.
Well, Alfonso is the only official of record in this contest. And they've got to get him back around. They're working on him out there to try to get him back. Oh, he threw Flair over the top rope. Fujinami just threw Ric Flair over the top rope. Did Alfonso see it? That's the big question.
Alfonso looking that way.
That should be a disqualification.
You see Tiger Hattori in there. And now, pick up, vertical suplex.
Well, not over the top rope is an automatic disqualification in this particular match. My question is, did Alfonso see it? There's a guillotine.
And a 3 count.
Hattori counted him out. Fujinami has won this match. He's not even sure. Now it's confirmed. But wait just a minute, Tony.
Well, Ric Flair is arguing right now. Jim, you were right about him throwing him over the top rope. But the referee of record, who is now back in the ring, is Bill Alfonso. And he's talking to Ric Flair. He's pointing to his chest.
Well, Tony, I'm going to go to this press conference. You can join me there a little bit later. I'm going to go to the press conference. Fujinami's going to be there, but
Now we're in the press room here at the Tokyo Dome. So much controversy surrounding this situation. Now the fans, the 64,000 were here in the Tokyo Dome, fully believe that Tatsumi Dragon Fujinami is the new WCW World's Heavyweight Champion. But we saw from our vantage point, and you saw the exact same thing, he threw Nature Boy Ric Flair over the top rope. The referee of record, Bill Alfonso, saw that action. Now the referee of record did not make the 1, 2, 3 count. So the way that we see it right here is that Nature Boy Ric Flair, because of that disqualification, is still. Wait a minute. There's.
What do you think is this? Where's that fish up there? Who are you? This is my belt.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. We got big problems here.
That's mine for what?
Flair's got the belt.
You want this? You come to America. This is mine.
But what a tragic situation here of international repercussions here. Flair has taken the belt and has left, ladies and gentlemen. Nature Boy Ric Flair has left this press conference and this press room with the belt. This is the most... And obviously Mr. Fujinami is very upset. I want to call... any English your feelings? Do you have any response to what just happened?
I don't know the English. I beat him, 3 count, 1, 2, 3. I'm winner. Why you take?
So, Arn, there we go. That's a big old angle that's setting up, which we'll cover in 2 weeks, Super Brawl. So, which we'll see there. But, man, how much fun was that? Do you remember this all going down? You ran in there with Barry to break it all up and all the controversy. And this is fun. It felt real.
It's a standard screw job finish. Now that's one that we would have done that at home. It would have worked, and it worked here. You know, it was one of those. It was pretty clear. He hit 3 or 4 false finishes on Rick, and before they got back to the DQ point, it was and that crowd popped on the 1, 2, 3 big time. Guy was a legend over there.
Ah. That was so good. So before we move on from New Japan, because we're going to round this week out with a television championship match, because you're still fighting with the belt here. But before we move on, what did you think overall about this relationship with New Japan and WCW aligning themselves with New Japan? Did you think that this could have the potential to be a successful partnership with WCW?
Well, I'm a little selfish, and I'll just be honest with you. Nothing against the folks over there, or certainly not the wrestling company, which was a top shelf. I'm an American through and through. I like watching American news. I like American food, American movies. Love to watch American sports. And when you get to Japan, other than like CNN was one channel, you had maybe 2 channels that were news channels that you could get anything American. In those days, we didn't have social media. I was a big USA paper guy. I read a USA paper every single day.
USA Today.
Yeah. It was a Cliff Notes of the world, right? Yep. Back then. Short version of everything happening in the world. You don't have any of that. You know, I need bigger than a twin bed to sleep in. And when you leave Japan, now the Kyo Plaza was a really nice Americanized hotel. But when you got out on the road on these 3-week tours, those little bitty rooms, you know, some of them were so small you had to leave your bags out in the hallway because there just wasn't room for you to walk around in there. It was just tiny. The fact that you couldn't get food past 8 o'clock at night in some of those small towns, it was an issue. No gym, some of those small towns, which means you just went to the arena and they had some dumbbells and a bench, and a bench press, but you couldn't get much done with that. It's just a whole different world. God bless America.
So from your personal perspective as a performer, whatever was happening with WCW New Japan is whatever was going on. But as a performer, you preferred, I want that good old US of A. We'll tour the US and do our thing and build our company through that way. This wasn't the road for you going international.
I did not need it to feed my ego. I did not need it out of the curiosity of seeing the rest of the world. Let me tell you, like I said, the one leg was 13 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
If you've ever dealt with airports, and in some facet, when you wake up in your room in America, and you go through all the things you have to, getting there a couple hours early, your flight, then whatever the layover is, then another 13 hours, then get on a 3-hour bus ride. If you've never done anything like that, I can't sit here and do it justice. What it does to your body, it takes you a week to get over it.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, you don't know what time frame you're on. You don't know. Your body is just turning backflips.
Well, Arn, let's talk about you not doing backflips, but defending your television title, because, man, it seems like every week when we do this show, it's you and that precious television championship belt. And on our final clip of the week, we have the closing moments of a championship match between you and none other than Flying Brian. So we're going to see what happened when Pillman tried to take that TV championship from you on the March 23rd edition of NWA Pro. On our final clip of the week, it's clip 4. It's Flying Brian Pillman versus you, Double A. Let's check it out.
Right to the collar and elbow tie up again. Anderson goes to the midsection and a left hand to the head. He's just trying to soften him up now. And here he goes using that left arm over the top. Flying Brian goes to the other side. Faked him out there. Anderson not sure where he is. Drop it. Flying Brian. And he's going to go after an apparent injury that Anderson has on the left groin there. Right around the thigh muscle. Anderson sends him to the post. There it is, again. That's where he wanted him, on the outside. You talking about the caliber of athletes in World Championship Wrestling. Men in here, bandaged up, going at it. Anderson coming in, he walked right into it that time. And here on WCW Pro Chicago, our fans in Chicago waiting for April 28th to arrive at our next big event at the Pavilion. But Arn Anderson going right to work on that left arm. And you just have to wonder how much pressure Flying Brian can take. To the side of the head. And again, using that one arm and sending the World TV Champion down. Into the corner. Sends Anderson over the top. Brian caught himself on the apron, but Anderson still. It's Brian sending Anderson down. Flying Brian up. He's got him. And Sid Vicious coming in. He said last week there'd be a time that would be his. Sid Vicious, paying back Flying Brian. The power bomb over the top. He missed him. Look at him. Both fighting Flying Brian. And another clothesline. Oh, he was going to put him out with a power bomb. And now both men stomping Brian. The match is long over. They pick him up to slam him down again. And now they're going to try to re-injure that shoulder. That's, what am I saying, re-injure? They're going to try to further injure that shoulder. Double axe handle. Finally, Dustin Rhodes, Big Josh, Tommy Rich are in. But the damage has been done. Arn Anderson.
Take a look at it. Because when you mess with the Horsemen, you're messing with the wrong people.
All right, the match is over. I guess Brian will win by disqualification. Here on the Pro, fans. Stay right where you are.
Buddy, you're not in good shape here at all. I mean, man.
Can't cover it. You can tell that's a groin injury because when you fall down, you can't get up. Anybody's ever had a bad groin injury, it's a really funky, just to get from the floor, to get one knee, get that leg bent, to get up on the apron, and then to get to your standing to your feet, and then step through the ropes. It's a process. And there's no covering it up. There's no way to hide it. I remember now really clear. That's one of those, and it's painful. You can't get in the bathtub. You got to take showers, and if your foot slips on the soap, and it just goes a little bit, whew, it's on the par of sciatica.
You've told us before that there's a difference between working hurt and working injured. Can you remind all of us, the audience here, what the difference is between the two? Because, man, you're working hurt here big time.
Well, you can get dinged up and you can get a jammed thumb or a couple of broke fingers, or you can get bell rung to where you're not clear-headed, but it's a day later, and the fog is lifted, but there's just not something right. They call them concussions now. Back in the day, we just said you get your bell rung. That would mean you would either just black out on your feet, but you finish the match somehow. The other guy gets you through the match. But when you're injured, there's a difference of, you can get your nose broke and it won't quit bleeding, and it's a pain in the ass, and you're trying to breathe. Now you got to breathe through your mouth, and that's just getting dinged up. That's working hurt. Working injured is when you can't protect him, you can't protect you, and you can't do anything that involves going outside, climbing the ropes, coming off the top, running. If you saw the one time, trying to run buckle to buckle, couldn't do it. I mean, I staggered a couple steps, but it was real obviously something was going on. And but in those days, it was too important. That was coming off of I would imagine the War Games where Brian got, so I had to try.
That's why he was wearing that sling on his arm. Yep.
I had to give him something back. Somebody had to give him something back. You can't just, so I did my best to make him look as good as I possibly could.
Arn, we're going to wrap up this week's show with a couple of fan questions. We're going to go rapid fire here, and we'll move through them as quickly as you want. But on this topic, friend of the show, Drew Landry, writes in, he says, the old mentality was you had to work to keep your spot. Is that what kept you working these matches despite the injury? I'm sorry.
Yep, 100%.
Yep.
And a personal pride. I just learned early on, I pulled a groin pull really, really bad one time when I first started, and I was in Pensacola. I hadn't been in the business 2 years yet, and pulled my groin pretty bad there, and for like 7 or 8 days, because back then we were wrestling every single day. I couldn't wrestle, but I went down on crutches, which I really needed to get down there, and did a little something with the crutch and got out of there. But at least I made an appearance. I was there. I was advertised, and I was there doing something.
Next up is Brian Haremza, Arn. He wants to know, you were injured most of this month. Was there ever any talk of forfeiting the TV title, or was that a non-issue?
I don't remember it coming up. I don't know how many days I actually missed. To be honest with you, but I don't remember a conversation about that.
All right. AFS top guy Bobby says, at what point, any time that you were injured, did you decide to have the injury addressed? So was there ever an injury where you were like, okay, I'm getting this taken care of? And was there ever a serious situation like that for you that you can recall?
Yeah. The first time with my neck, I knew, but I got through a match. It was a tag match. It was when Tully and I were in WWF. I broke it on an afternoon show, cracked a vertebrae, and I worked that night. I didn't do much. I just pretty much stomped, but I knew, when I heard that, I knew that's not good. And then my arm got hot. Then later on, a couple hours, a dull ache in my deltoid started. So I knew that was more than just me getting my bell rung. It was the start of something bad. The groin injuries were bad. A couple of those. One was here, and what we just saw, and the other was in Pensacola. So when you're hurt, you're hurt.
Yeah.
It's a whole different. Your mind just takes over, and sometimes in those days you would just do your best to get through the match, and at least get to the finish that you had in mind. Now they're a lot better about they just referee shuts the match down, and it's taking care of the talent and probably adding years to their career.
Absolutely. One more injury question. This comes to us from Brad Stanton. He said, we recently talked about the Shawn Michaels injury in the match against Taker, and you remember that back injury he got when he nicked that coffin. He wrestled 20 minutes after the actual injury took place. I want to know how you dealt with an injury, Arn, knowing that the match isn't over. You got to keep going. How do you deal with something like that?
It's a funny thing. Adrenaline will cover a lot of issues. If you got that adrenaline rush and the audience is into it, it's a funny thing. It will help you mask pain. It will give you energy. Believe it or not, it's I don't know. It's a funny thing. You go into almost just like autopilot. You're doing more reacting to what the other guy's doing, and when you see that a guy's hurt, immediately that's why it's so important that guys have experience. They can recognize a guy's hurt, doesn't even know he's hurt. When you get knocked out but you're still awake is one of the weirdest things there's ever been, because you're still seeing and you're still hearing, but you're like, it's just a fixed, I don't know, you're looking at a picture and it's just a fixed picture, but you can still hear, but you have no idea where you're at as far as in the match or what you're doing.
We'll transition out of the injury questions, and we have a few more. Bryant Haremza asks, Buddy Landell, at this point, Arn, is fired in early March here. What are Arn's thoughts on Buddy? And is Buddy a perfect example of someone who just kept getting in their own way?
Yep. You can rationalize it, say whatever you want. That's about as good an explanation as there is. It cost him millions of dollars. Buddy just decided that this newfound notoriety that he was getting was the most important thing to him, and he kind of had an idea in the back of his head that he was bulletproof, which he wasn't. But he was given, he had such a promising career ahead of him, and everyone saw it. He was given a boatload of chances to straighten up, more than a lot of people would have, but the potential was there. Everybody could see it. Him and Flair having a run was going to be a big deal.
Yeah, it's disappointing for Buddy and for the fans, for that matter. We have a question here from a guy by the name of Cody Paul, and he's touching on the February show, and he noticed the clip of the Z-Man that was posted this past week and wants to know why Z-Man never made it huge since he had all the attributes to be a superstar. Arn, why in your estimation did Tom Zink never make it bigger than what he did?
I don't know. Other than the fact that, if Tom would have just been a little, not that he was ever a pain in the ass to do business with, but if he would have been a little more dedicated and played some of the politics, because him and Brian at that point in time they were two of those bright young stars that WCW was going to hang their hat on. They were going to build these guys. And they were both very, very talented, good-looking guys, good-looking athletes. Pillman was a legitimate, football player, played on the Cincinnati Bengals, and Tom looked like $1 million. He looked like a movie star, but, you have to, the office needs to know they can count on you in every situation that comes up, that you are a company man, that you are there to do right by the business, do right by your company, do right by your opponent, and just in general, be a pro. And I think that might have came into question. Tom liked to party a little bit too much, and when you can't separate that, not that I'm throwing, I'm not.
You're not throwing stones because
No.
Everybody had a good time back then.
You just had to pick your spots.
That's right.
And he had that incredible spot with him and Rick Martel and the WWF. My God. See those guys in all white gear
The Can-Am connection.
In the summertime when they're all tanned up, gassed up. Good Lord. I mean, it was like
a dream team. Yeah, they could do it all.
At least. And they could work.
Yeah.
Both of them, there was no flaws. It was just that place required you to be on top of your game 100%, and you had to sacrifice a lot of things to stay in the rotation up there. And so Tom bailed, and that was one of those things you just scratched your head and you went, God almighty, why break that team up? But everybody has to run their career the way they see fit.
That's right. 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap up, Arn. Wrestling Alternate Commentary wants to know what your experience was like at the world-famous Ribera's and what memories you have at that establishment.
Well, I had to get one of the jackets. That meant you were one of the international boys.
Do you still have your jacket?
No, I don't. And okay. I don't even know where it is, to be honest with you. I think Barrett, my oldest son, might have snatched it. Okay. I don't know, years and years and years and decades ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made sure I got one, and the food was good, and they made a big deal about you being there. It was just one night you could relax and let your body, rest for a day.
And have a good meal, sounds like.
Have a good meal. Because, buddy, way back then, I'll just give you a barometer. Now, that was 91?
91, yes, sir.
Okay. By the Keogh Plaza was a Subway. Back then, this is 91, a Subway sandwich, the full 1 foot gimmick.
Yeah, foot long, yeah.
Was like $9.
Wow.
That's a bunch of money. I don't know what the conversion rate is, but that's pretty stiff for a freaking Subway sandwich.
I'm with you. Final question. Nick Lenz asked about wearing the championship around your waist. Did you have a preference to wearing or carrying the TV title? Was there a rhyme or reason as to why sometimes you wore the title and other times you carried it?
I wore it mostly because I was proud to be the champion. That was my championship. I was very proud to be the television champion. And there was just times, I don't know what the reason would be, that I would throw it over my shoulder. I don't remember that being a conscious thought that one was better than the other or one fit better than the other. It was just more a mindset and whatever I felt that night.
Yeah, I always like the look of wearing that championship belt around the waist,
Yes, sir.
Looks sharp. Well, Arn, listen, that's going to wrap us up for this week. Your first trip to Japan was a huge success. Like we said, almost 65,000 people in attendance. The Horsemen continue the feud with Sting and his allies in the aftermath of WrestleWar. And then you had the big-time angle that we watched in Japan. And WCW launched their partnership with New Japan. That leads us to the first Super Brawl, which we're getting to. And speaking of Super Brawl, next week, we're going to find out how you got there by working our way through April 1991. You and Flair work a lot of events against Sting and El Gigante. Yes, we have more of him. You continue your run as the TV champ. We find out that at Super Brawl, the 2 greatest tag team wrestlers of a generation are going to square off the TV title. That's right, Arn. It's you and Beautiful Bobby are going to face off at Super Brawl. I can't wait till we get to that episode. But join us next week and find out all about it. Guys, don't forget, check it out, boxofgimmicks.com. That's where you're going to find all the new Four Horsemen merchandise. I'm talking about these awesome jackets. I'm talking about the hats and all the merch that you want, the Arn Show merchandise. Check it out. Do yourself a favor. Be one of the elite that is wearing one of the elite symbols in all of professional wrestling, the Four Horsemen, just like Arn Anderson does. On behalf of the Hall of Famer, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, this is Paul Bromwell. Arn, you have something you want to share?
I got to get this in.
Go ahead.
You have heard about it, and I know you've ate there because you live up that way.
I know where you're going.
So, we're hard to buy for our family. We just are. It's difficult for us, but I got a Christmas gift this year that popped me. I mean, completely popped me. Jimmy's Seafood. Aaron and the boys ordered some crab cakes and had some stuff sent to the house. And brother, it is live. I had heard the stories. The crab cakes are something but everything is made with crab up there. Every dish, and they've got a dish about this long on their menu is like yay. I mean, I got to put those guys over. Then I find out they're going to be one of the sponsors of the show.
They are.
So.
The ones that are listening to the ad-filled version, I won't call it ad-free, have already heard an ad on this show for Jimmy's Famous and a promo code ARN that they can use. But for you ad-free show members that are getting this ad-free, listen, Jimmy's Famous is the real deal. You might want to go check out the ad included version so you can use ARN's promo code. But man, they're doing a promo with us right now where they're shipping orders 125 or more free shipping and a discount. But man, ARN, I'm going to tell you something. Next time you order from them, try their crab cake egg rolls. That's a home run.
Well, I will do. I mean, we had the crab soup, we had the crab dip. I mean, we had the crab cakes.
You're loving it. I love it.
Everything, and it's just quality stuff, and it travels well. It's just beautiful. I had to plug those guys.
You got it, man. And ad-free show version, you didn't hear our ad, but we ran an ad earlier in this show, and my goodness, I think most of you, if you've ever been to Baltimore, if you were there for StarCast, you know what I'm talking about. So, Arn, thank you for that. Check it out, Jimmy's Famous Seafood. And now, on behalf of the Hall of Famer, the Enforcer, he's Jimmy's Famous Seafood loving Arn Anderson. This is Paul Bromwell, and we will see you right here next week on Arn